Okay. All right. Thank you all very much. You are welcome once again. My name is Christina Ofori, the communication associate at Tech4Everyone, and I'll your host for this evening's meeting. Sorry. Now we'll move on to our guest speaker, who is in the name of Nikkia, the CEO at NTC Tech Consultancy, where she and her team helps organizations to unlock the Microsoft cloud and also embrace collaboration. Guys, this evening let's welcome Nikkia Kata. Hello Nikkia, please can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
You are welcome once again.
Thank you.
All right. This evening we are very glad to have you and we are hoping to learn a lot from you this evening. So, as we start, I'm going with my first question. Please, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, education, how you started? Yeah.
Okay. Well, of course, y'all know my name is Nikkia Carter. My middle initial is T. It stands for Tia. Tia in Spanish means aunt. I'm from the States. I'm originally from the East Coast, Baltimore area, or the DMV. If some of you have been to the States, you might have heard of the DMV area, which is DC, Maryland, Virginia. But then about 5 years ago or so, I got hired by Microsoft and they moved me and my family to the to the West Coast. So now we currently have our residence in Washington State, but I've been in Ghana since June. And my background is in IT. I have a computer science degree, bachelor's degree, and I have a master's in IT project management. And I've been in tech since 2001. I started off applications development, then added some internet development, then got into SharePoint, then Office 365, started my company, and the rest is kind of more current history.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
My next question is, what aspect of working at Microsoft during your tenure that do you find particularly interesting or noteworthy?
Yeah. I've been a part of the Microsoft community for a long time. Even when I first started my career in 2001, I was doing programming in Microsoft languages like C Sharp, .NET, Visual Basic, those languages that are equated with Microsoft. But then I got into SharePoint. And then I built my own company and I got into Office 365 and then Microsoft hired me. And I became a world tech lead for the partner org, which is so my first company was a Microsoft partner company. This company now that I have is a Microsoft partner company. I was working in the org that dealt with Microsoft partners, which was a pretty good place for me to be, being that I was technical. I was looking after technical architects across the world, in every region, even in Africa. And I was also in the partner community for a long time. So it was a really good role for me to be in. The things that I found most interesting is just that was my first time being in a global role, and having exposure to so many different business cultures and how things work. So that was a really cool experience. Even though I didn't go, let's say I didn't go everywhere all the time. I did do some travel. But I mostly worked out of Washington State.
Okay. Thank you very much. Please, before we move on, I would like my audience and I would like to know the full meaning of NTC.
Well, NTC, the full name is it's just my initials. I
Oh,
was trying to set up so kind of a long story, but making it shorter.
okay.
Microsoft, a little while ago did a huge layoff where they're revamping the whole company. So they dropped about 10% to 20% of their workforce. Unfortunately, I was one of those folks that got dropped.
Wow.
So I, it's okay. Um, but I wanted to start. So I was like, okay, I don't want to get stale out here. Let me start my company right now. I want to start it immediately. And then I was like, oh, shoot, I didn't think of a name, which caught me by surprise the last time I started a company. So I should have learned better, but I did not for whatever reason. I did not think I was going to start another company. I thought I was going to be at Microsoft and that would be my last stop. But turns out I'm not. So I started another company. And because I couldn't think of a name right at that moment, I just chose my initials. NTC is my initials, Nikkia Tia Carter. But I could even change it to something if I could come up with something for that first N, because then it could be N and then something tech consultancy, because the TC still goes with tech consultancy. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I might figure out something clever eventually, but right now that's what it stands for.
Okay. Wow, guys. That's the initials and that's a company. Yeah. Thank you. I would like to know how do you navigate the IT field, which is predominantly male dominated? Don't you
Yeah.
feel some kind of equality? Is it some kind of gender inequality? Is it like, yeah, that's what I'm
Oh
thinking
yeah.
about.
Yeah, I get that all the time, but I also get it just being a female, period, especially a female in the States. I'm not as fully acquainted with the culture in Ghana, but there's still some of that over here too. So that's an
Hmm.
everyday thing. But being at IT, it is very male dominated. When I first started, I think I was on my first team. Um, I was the only female for the longest time, to the point where the guys were going to hire another person. And I was like, it should be a female because I'm lonely. And they all looked at me like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, boy, I'm just playing with y'all. I know it's not that many females to hire, but you should really look for some. Um, so, it can be good and it can be bad. There are situations where you get in where there's just males that are being extra, doing way too
Mm-hmm.
much, exerting power that they really don't have or that they do have, but they shouldn't be
Yeah.
flaunting. Um, because that just messes up teams. That just messes up. You need multiple different types of people coming from different types of backgrounds to have an effective team, to come up with different types of solutions that will work with different types of.
Hello. Please, can anyone hear Nikkia talking?
Just making sure you can still hear me. Okay, good.
Okay.
Um, Things are changing where there's starting to be more females, but the way that I got in was I've always been a tomboy. So no matter what you tell me, I'm not backing down. I used to be one of a few, one, usually the one in a group of males that I used to hang out with. When I was in work situations, I was usually the only female or maybe one of two. So it never really bothered me per se, to be the only female or one of a few females. What bothers me is when some people act like just because I'm a female, I can't do certain things or I'm not smart or like I used to get the assumption I'm a developer. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
developer. I've been a trainer. I've trained multiple people. I've mentored people. I've written books, and people will still sometimes be like, you just do training, right? Like, no, bruh, I do code. I mean, I don't do code right now because I'm more on the executive side, but I used to write code. I used to write full applications by myself. I used to
Wow.
do full solutions by myself. So it's not like just because I'm a female, I'm just good enough to be a teacher. That part pisses me off. but
Hmm.
it is part of this, the culture of IT, because it's so male dominated, but not in every male dominated IT space are females treated that way. But if you are, as a female, for me, I mean, I know for me, it's a little bit more natural for me because I'm, what my mom would have called defiant back in the day. I'm very strong willed, and, I try to make a way out of whatever way I can find. I will figure out something. You have to have that tenacity, and you have to have the grit and the drive, because as a female, you may find a crew of people that you can be with that are other females, or you might find your crew of some, maybe a little bit of females and mostly males or all males, but you are going to have to be your own backbone. You are going to have to push yourself through. If this is what you really want to do, there are places where you can go where you will be accepted and where you will thrive, but you have to push through as a female. I mean, the same thing happens to men too, just not as much in this field. So I'm just saying that to say, even though I am naturally bullheaded and stubborn like that, you can, if you're a female, become like this by just practicing and just pushing, and then trying to find your niche with some other females, even if it's online, to help you keep going when times get hard, or when you're trying to figure out what your next move is, if you need to leave a place or something like that. I know that was a lot more than what you asked for, but that's where I went. Hopefully that was okay.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm really enjoying this meeting with you. I guess you're not the
Thank you.
only tomboy. Also one, and I can really relate to what you're saying, guys. Is Nikkia speaking to us? Because being a person with disability, and um I find that quite a bit off, but yeah, we have a strong will. Yeah, as Nikkia is saying, guys, don't just sit there just because someone is looking down on you. Do something. Yeah. Thank you very much, Nikkia.
Yes, prove
Thank
them
you.
wrong.
Yeah, prove
Bet you
them
can prove
wrong.
them wrong. Prove them wrong.
Sure, sure. Okay, so as the CEO of NTC Tech Consultancy, sorry, what specific skills do you prioritize when recruiting candidates or employing employees?
hmm the most important skills are the being on time, customer service skills, being willing to learn, and then I would say after that would be the tech skills. So if you have tech skills, or at least you need to at least have tech inclination. You might not
Mhm.
have already had tech skills, but I found by there was one time I was teaching there was a doctor that ran a nonprofit in the U.S. And her nonprofit was very bootstrapped, meaning that she used her own money to run her nonprofit. She didn't have any funding and things like that. So she came to me because she wanted to build some solutions for her clinic. Now she's a doctor and she wanted me to build them for them, but she was like, what's your rates? And I told her, and she's like, oh, that's a little steep. Can you teach me how to do this? And I was like, sure, if you got the inclination, I can teach you. So I went to teach her, and she picked it up so fast. She was building her own forms. Even though there was times where I had to help her out and get her out of, jams and help her understand different things that were going on, and why certain things weren't happening. But she was picking up on it so fast. And it was because she was willing to learn. She was driven to get it done because it was her business, and she was really passionate about helping her, her patients. Um, so I believe that that's the most important things. You have to be willing to learn. You have to be driven to get the work done, and to be willing to learn, to keep your learning going, because tech is a field that is continually changing. You're always going to have to be learning. There's always new stuff coming out. Not only do you need to do that, you need to like to do that. If you don't like to do that, then this is not the field for you. You should check another field, although there are other fields in tech, so you could still stay in tech.
Hmm. Okay.
Tech in HR doesn't require that type of thing. So you could still stay in the tech arena, but maybe choose a different type of thing to do. But tech requires ongoing learning, always being aware of what's happening, what's coming out, what's the next thing, because that helps you to traverse your career. And I can talk about that later. I think you're probably going to ask me about my career path later. But
Yeah.
it's how I traversed my career, is I was always constantly learning, and that's how I went through the different phases to where I am today, because I constantly kept learning, and I'm still learning about new tech. And I'm learning more about the business side than the tech side. But I keep the learning going. So that is the number one most important. And then you have to be driven. That drive helps you to do that learning, but also helps you to do the work and keep on time, keep with the schedule. Um, Ghana is now starting to go through this tech transformation. The more and more that we start from Ghana having work come in from other places, you're going to be dealing with more of that Western type of style of doing work. You have to match that if you want to work in this kind of environment until things change, and things are kind of changing. But that is the way the environment is very Western culture. Western culture demands that you keep up with your job and you're on time with stuff. The other thing is customer service. Having the ability and the willingness to learn it, even if you don't. How do you talk to a customer? How do you deliver your services? How do you keep up with the customer? All of that stuff, you need to learn that too. Client delivery, I should say, more than customer service, because that more people mostly think about that in retail and hospitality and stuff like that. But client delivery still entails customer service, and then the ability to get those skills. Do you have the tech inclination? If you do, even if you don't have the tech skills, there are things that you can learn and do really quickly, as long as you have that inclination, that natural ability to do tech. And a lot of people have it. They just don't know they have it.
Hmm. Okay. Thank you very much. So when you talk about tech inclination, is there any kind of certification, a specific kind of degree or
No, I mean, when I say inclination, I mean your innate ability to do something. It just comes natural to you. You might not know that it's natural because that might not have tried it. But a lot of people have this natural ability to do different things in tech. There are so many different areas of tech that most people could go into each of those different areas and be fulfilled. Do you have the inclination? Do you have the natural ability to do whatever the tech is that you're going after? Can you
okay.
naturally understand the logic of code? If you can naturally understand, if you're a logical person, you could put together sequences of things to come to a solution, then you would be a good candidate, as one that most likely can think in those technical terms to come up with solutions. Tech is it's a bunch of logic. It's a bunch of steps. It's a bunch of
Hmm.
logic. And then you add creativity on top of that. So again, that natural ability just to pick it up.
Okay. So it's more like passion. You have to have passion to. Is that
Yeah, it's
what?
passion. That's the drive.
Yeah,
But I mean,
okay.
like, it's like instinct. Like,
Okay.
if somebody asked you to build a house, certain people could probably do it without plans. That's the way
Sure.
people used to do it back in the day. But just some
Mm-hmm.
people's brains just work in certain ways, or the way is so close to it, like the doctor that I was telling you about. Doctors are very logical. They add creativity when they need to, but they follow processes. They understand how things are supposed to fit together. And she applied that same mindset from being a doctor to being a developer. So completely
Okay.
different fields, completely different fields. She did not technically train for that. She had never had any school for it, but she found out that she was good for it because she already had the precursors in her brain, the natural instincts to do certain things that made her good for tech.
Oh, okay. So I want to know if you accept or you take intent.
I do. I'm trying to figure out what to do for that though in Ghana. In the
Okay.
States, there's a lot of rules around interns, and I don't know what the rules are here.
Okay. Okay. All right. So moving on, we would like to know some of the services NTC offer.
hmm Well, we're a
Yeah.
Microsoft shop. We're a Microsoft shop. That's where I've been most of my tech career, except for the time that I kind of stepped out and did some Java for a minute. But we're we're a Microsoft shop. We do Microsoft. We do solutions and training
Uh-huh.
on top of Microsoft's Office 365 or Microsoft 365 product. Also on top of Power Platform, which includes Power Apps for creating modern forms, modern online forms, Power Automate for automating business workflow processes, bots for, the virtual agents, which are bots, those little things that answer questions based on folks asking questions. And it can be it's based on AI, but you put in your sets of questions first. So the bots, Power Pages, which allows people to make external facing websites that can be pretty robust. And then there's another one, but right now I'm drawing a blank. In M365, we do things like SharePoint development. SharePoint is good for like intranets and communication sites and projects and documents and things like that. Teams, we do development in Teams and training and all of that. And Teams is good for having meetings like we're in now.
Uh-huh.
For project collaboration, it's like Slack meets Zoom, or Slack meets Google Meetup. It's a place where you can have the files and you can have your teams, but you can also have quick chats and you can have online meetings such as this. There's more in the space, but those are the general.
Okay. So now we come to your career part. Growing up, sometimes it'll be like, oh, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a nurse and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Um did it change as time went on,
Yep.
as you grew? Did it change?
Yep.
So what was your dream career, and what changed? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, first, when I was younger, I wanted to be a brain surgeon. And I carried that pretty much all the way through until I got to high school. Well, actually, a little bit before high school. What happened before high school was, so I grew up in Baltimore inner city. If you know anything about inner city, I grew up poor. Um, very much in poverty. There was times where me being the oldest of four, I would also
Mm-hmm.
sacrifice eating so my siblings can eat along with my mom because she was a single mom, even though my dad was also still in the picture, but won't go there. Well, I'll go
Mm-hmm.
there because my dad actually, being that he was still in the picture and still trying to help out as best as he could, he bought us this computer called Tandy Color Computer 3. It was from this business called Radio Shack, which has since died in the States.
Mm-hmm.
But that computer had a book that came with it. It was, I think it was extended programming for Color Basic or something like that. And I think I was somewhere around 10 or so, and I taught myself Basic out of that book. Then I realized from teaching myself that by using the book, following the examples, and then eventually I just started making my own stuff up and just doing whatever. I realized I was good at programming. So a couple of years later, I end up in college. I end up in high school. I went to a citywide school. A citywide school in the States, they also sometimes call it a magnet school. But basically, it's a public school where it's ranked the highest. So I went to the number one citywide school in the city. It's called Baltimore Polytechnic Institute. And it was a science and engineering school. So you got to choose which your quote unquote major would be, but you still took science and engineering courses, which I graduated top of my class in science and second in
Wow.
engineering.
Wow.
And I was in competition with a guy. He was second in science and first in engineering. So we were in big competition. But anyway, when I went to Poly, which is short for Polytechnic, um, when I went to Poly, I first was like, I'm going to go into science. So that's what I did, even though I loved engineering a lot too. Um, I had one computer science class. It was on extended basic. I breezed through that class. I was helping other people do their assignments. Some people I was just doing their assignments so they could pass because they were just not getting it. And it was super easy for me. But during this time, I had science and I had a lot of courses of science, and I really love science. I love biology. I love genetics. I love the earth sciences. I love science. I even love like physics and stuff like light physics. But anyway, so I love science, and I had a genetics course because my class, again, my high school was advanced. It was a more advanced class, more advanced school. So you got more advanced, you got college level, first year level courses for some things when you got to your senior and junior levels. So I chose genetics and I was like phenomenal at it to the point where my teacher, she ran a lab and she offered me a job to work at her lab for the summer. A paid job, not just you come here and you get paid to work for me. I thought about it. I went home and I did some research because I was like, "Ooh, this is awesome. I'm going to go home and do some research. Let's see how this works out." So I looked up how long it would take me because I was still feeling the pull towards computer science. How long would it take me to make $40,000 as a salary? Because that was a salary goal at that time when I was about to, go to college and such. $40,000 a year. How long would it take? How many degrees do I need to get? With computer science, I only needed to get my bachelor's degree. With genetics, I needed to go to the PhD level. So I was like, yeah, no, not doing that. I like school, but I don't like school like that. Especially, it's not the learning part that I don't like. It's more the administration, some of the teachers, some of the administrators, policies, the dumb stuff they sometimes do to you just so you can get an education. That part I don't like. But when I did that research, I was like, nope, I'm not doing that. So I told her, never mind. I'm going to go through the computer science. So I get to college, and for some reason, because I joined the Air Force, I only stayed in for 2 years and I got out before I got fully commissioned as an officer, because of my family dynamics changed. But, I went after aerospace for some reason. Again, I like physics and I like the dynamics and engineering of things. So I went after aerospace at first, my first semester, and I realized, oh crap, I'm supposed to be in computer science. So I switched. I was like, what are you doing? So I switched, and I've been in computer science ever since. But like I said, I started my career off as an applications developer. Did that for, I don't know, 7 years or so. During that time, I did some intranet development. I worked in, I was a government employee. I had to go to different departments. And when I did that, for when you first get hired, you have to go to different departments for where I was working. So I had each place I went, it was a new language, a new programming language, and a new platform that I had to learn. So I did that 4 or 5 different times. I picked up Visual Basic, Java, Ada, this computer programming language for the Navy, which is really old and antiquated, assembly, Pascal, I already said basic, Visual Basic, ASP.NET, a whole lot of stuff. I picked up a whole lot, and every time it was new stuff that I had to learn on the fly in order to do the project that I was put on, that I rotated to. So learned lots of different languages. Then I ended up going, leaving the government space and going more towards the commercial space, but more on the contractor side. Um, Worked for a couple of contractors. Then I ended up at Booz Allen Hamilton. I think y'all probably know that company over here, or if you don't, Booz Allen is a fairly large company built of consultants that do lots of different things. They have a
Okay.
huge tech sector, but they also have like business services, and I forget there was some other wing of services that they did. So of course I was in tech. They still were very big into contracting to the government. So I did a lot of more government contracting. But the difference was that I had switched from application development to SharePoint development at this point. And how I got there was because as I was starting to wind down for working for the government in a specific area, which basically all government jobs is, besides hospitality and some other jobs, is mostly only tech government jobs in this area. Um, so I was starting to leave that because the Navy's program, some of the ships that they were building, which my work was tied to, were getting defunded. So I left the government, went to a contractor, ended up having to leave them too because the ones that I was working on for them, they were dying. Went to another contractor, and how I got there was because someone came and asked me, "You can do SharePoint development, right?" Never saw SharePoint. I was like, "Sure, I can do SharePoint. Let me see what it looks like." They showed me some stuff. Turns out this was the back. What they showed me was really not what I was going to be working on. It was the back encoding of SharePoint, not SharePoint itself.
Mm.
Itself. So I'm like, yeah, shoot, that's just code, whatever. Psh. So I get in there and I realize, well, first of all, I realized number one that, hey, I can get out of application development and switch to this new thing. And two, realized how much of the big of a jump that pay was going to be. So I went from making 67,000 a year at that time. My pay jumped up to 95,000 a year. And I didn't even go with that company. That first company that asked me, I didn't go because I was pregnant at the time and they were far away and I didn't want to commute. So I ended up interviewing for a bunch of other companies that were in the area, and I got hired for a company was in the area. But lo and behold, I get there, the ship dies, and I ended up out there like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to go somewhere else. And then I
Oh.
ended up at Booz Allen Hamilton. And
Mm.
at Booz, they didn't have that many SharePoint developers. So I pretty much, after my first year, I was commuting like 6 to 8 hours a day. Then I got it down to 4 hours. And then I got it down to I was doing nothing but remote work because my skill and expertise in SharePoint was so sought after, but I was one of very few that could do it. So I had my choice of whatever job I wanted to do. And so
Oh.
I only chose jobs that I could work from home.
No.
But, saying all that just to say that um, I made that transition from applications, pure code development to SharePoint development, which was solution development. So there's code, there's other kinds of development work that you do in SharePoint. But again, all logical and stuff like that. Then after leaving Booz Allen, I had started my own company while I was at Booz Allen. Wasn't about to get laid off, but I was just like, well, there's no work for me right now, so I might as well just leave. And I left and just did my company full time. I ran that company for about 7 years. And during that time, I also picked up business skills, how to do marketing, how to do sales, how to brand myself, how to become that thought leader so that I could sell my services to all the different businesses around and partner with other businesses that are doing similar work and work with them for their clients. So again, I was saying earlier how I kept learning. You have to keep
Mm-hmm.
learning, period, anyway. Really,
Mm-hmm.
life is about continuous learning. But in tech, it really means your career. If you don't continue to learn and evolve with the tech and thrive in that manner, you end up becoming one of those people nobody will hire because they nobody needs that skill anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to keep going and figuring out
Yeah.
what's new. How can I apply my skills to this? Because that might be the next career that I'm getting into.
Yeah.
Maybe I like it. Maybe I'll go in that direction.
Mm. Wow. This is really great. I'm really, really enjoying it. Guys, let me see your reaction. It's quite unfortunate that in Ghana you can't really switch programs when you realize this is not for me. But
Mm-hmm.
guys, what Nikkia is saying is that develop yourself in such a way that you become indispensable. Like you choose the kind of
Mm-hmm.
jobs you want to do. Yes.
Yep.
That's my
Mm-hmm.
thing. Yeah, I want to be like you. Yes.
You will
Okay.
be. You
Yeah,
definitely will be.
I will. Okay. So, what were the major challenges you encountered when establishing your company or your organization in Ghana? And can you elaborate on some of the challenges?
Yeah, well, I haven't established a company in Ghana. My company is based out of Washington State, and I work with two companies that provide, they're pretty much our vendors where the reason why we're in Ghana is
Okay.
to help Ghanaians get tech jobs that they can work remotely so they can continue to contribute to the economy here, continue to vote on the important issues and things like that, stay in the culture, continue to build Ghana, which will build Africa, which is something that we so desperately need as Africans, as Black people. We need a strong motherland. So this is what I'm here to help do. I did go
Wow.
try to start a company in Ghana, but the policies, even though Ghana is saying that they want us from the diaspora, specifically Black Americans, to come over, specifically those of us in tech and manufacturing to come over, the laws and the way that we're being received is still not the way we should be received.
Wow.
First, I was told that I needed to pay even. I needed to partner with a Ghanaian, which I'm fine with. We already have a Ghanaian partner. He's a CT. He's my CTO. We're training him to be such. But we were told that you got to partner with a Ghanaian, which is fine, but you still have to pay $200,000 US and put it in a bank account that you can't touch and use for your business expenses. It's just got to stay there as investment in the country. When I said, hey, y'all asked us to come here as Black Americans, I'm bringing exactly what you asked. I'm bringing the tech with me. This is what I do. I've mentored lots of people. I'm coming to bring opportunities to Ghanaians where they can attach to opportunities outside of Ghana without leaving Ghana. But I was told foreigners, which really pissed me off because I'm not a foreigner. I'm long lost family, which we need to look at each other like that. We're
Mm-hmm.
all family. I was told because I'm a foreigner, I need to put up this money, which that was my biggest challenge. So far, I have not done so. But I'm hoping to be able to talk to some people in the diaspora office of communications, and hopefully eventually the office of the presidency to get some of this changed. Because it's not it's not a good deal, and it's not something that a lot of us as Americans, Black Americans, being that we went through so much trauma, we go through so much to create the environment, the wealth, the the bona fides that we have. We work so hard to get that, and then to be told that first of all you're a foreigner, and then second of all you need to put up so much money that the other person doesn't need to put up, but And then you have no protections. There's a company that's actually in trouble here in Ghana because the Ghanaian, for whatever reason, wants to take the company away from the the other person who actually trained
Wow.
them and brought them on. And they didn't have to really do anything. They just automatically got part of the company. But
Hmm.
they're making a mess, and there's no protection for that. So,
Mhm.
that's kind of a slap in the face, being that we are family, being that we are being asked to come, being that we're coming with skills and things that Ghana needs, and being that you're asking for so much, but the other party does not have to do that. That's not fair. Um, so that's been my biggest challenge, but that doesn't mean that I'm stopping, because we were told that back in I think it was sometime last year. It was before the holidays, so it was like maybe October or September, and I'm still in Ghana. So it's not something. It's a challenge, but like I said, I'm pretty hard headed. I'm pretty stubborn. It's a challenge,
Mhm.
but it's not a challenge that I cannot insurmount, because I can still do what we're doing, which is work with other Ghanaian companies, have them bring their talent through my company, where I'm bringing the tech jobs from the States to start off with, and hopefully other places in the diaspora later.
Mm. It's quite tough, but yeah, I know you're going to pull through. Yes, you are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
As
Yeah, well, I mean, it's
someone,
extremely important. I have the drive to do it because it's extremely
uh-huh.
important for
Yeah.
not just me and my company, and not just the Ghanaians that we hire. It's important for all of us
Mm-hmm.
as a people. We have to come up out of this hole that we're
Yeah.
in, and we are coming out of the hole, but we need to come up out the hole faster.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to help speed that up.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. So, as someone who held a leadership role at Microsoft, a company that played a significant role in development of AI, what is your perspective on AI in the next decade?
Mhm. Well, I love AI. Let me just say that out of the, first off. I wrote a blog on it too, so y'all can go and, oh, actually, did we post it? I believe we posted it. If we didn't post it, it's going to get posted soon. But I wrote a
Okay.
blog on AI and how we need to be careful, because AI is awesome. It brings so much needed help for people in their individual lives, as well as us as a collective. It can help hospitals be able to, predict that somebody might be about to have a problem based on a bunch of different data that the AI is able to go out and get, and then crunch really quickly for the physician. It can do things like helping understand where the um, populations may be needing more help, to direct aid in those places. Lots of different applications that AI can be applied to that will help humans individually and as a collective, and in our individual ethnic groups as well. The problem is that AI is something that the Western world is controlling more right now.
Mm,
As Africans, we definitely need to be in the conversation, and we need to be not only in the conversation, we need to be at the table, and we need to be pushing for what's right. If we don't, we're going to get systems that are going to be against us. And unlike humans being against us, humans can be swayed with emotion. Systems
mhm.
cannot be swayed. They're going to
Yeah.
say, this is the thing, this is the rule, that's what you're getting. So we got to make sure that the systems that are built in a way that's equal and equitable. And then the
Mhm.
systems that are built for us directly in our own areas, like in Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Jamaica, wherever
Mhm.
we as a people are the biggest population, we need to make sure that the AI is there for our benefit and not for the benefit of others who would
Mm-hmm.
take advantage of us.
Hmm. Wow. So
So
do
I
you
love it, but
think,
we have to be very careful.
okay. So do you think it's going to replace certain IT jobs time to come?
Definitely. It's going to replace IT jobs. It's going to replace a bunch of different jobs. Same things with robotics. Everything changes. This is not new, people. Horses were replaced by cars.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people that
Yeah.
used to come out and clean people's, I mean, not clean people's toilets, but, um, gather the waste
Just
from people's
cleaning.
homes,
Yeah. Cleaning job.
that got replaced by plumbing.
Uh-huh.
People that sold candles a lot. There was probably a whole lot more people that sold candles, got replaced by electricity. But what happens is that, and this is the other reason why you continually keep learning, because no matter what the replacement is, there's always going to be something else that you're going to be able to get into. These computers are not going to fix themselves. These robots, these AI, they're not going to fix themselves. There's still going to be people that need to be there, people that need to verify information, people need to fix the systems, people need to update the systems, people need to update and fix the robotics, the machines. You know, it's it's a shift of what people will do. It doesn't mean people will lose jobs completely. But see, that's the reason why you have to be constantly learning. You have to be constantly seeing what is the next thing. Is this the next thing that I want to do? Should I go in that direction or should I stay here? Should I go in a different direction? If you're constantly learning, you're constantly understanding with the new things that are coming out, how you might fit in that arena, then you're never going to be without a job. You're going to always figure out how you can get into the next thing. But you have to stay constantly learning. You have to stay driven to stay constantly learning. It will replace jobs. Things will shift, but this is not new. This has always happened and it will continue to happen. We just, as a people, have to make sure that we're ready for when the shifts happen.
Hmm. Wow. Right. That's true. Okay. So earlier you talked about during when you were talking about your career path, you talked about where you had to switch to go to another class and you finding out that you love programming. So I want to know, my audience and I would love to know that. Was it the right choice for you? Do you think you really enjoy being in the tech space? And
Oh
that's
yeah,
something you really want to do.
yes, I really enjoy it, and it's for a few different reasons. One, it's an equalizer. Tech is an
Okay.
equalizer. If you have the ability to do it, no matter what background you come from, like I said, I can't sometimes do technical work, but for the most part now, my career path has kind of changed from being the tech worker to being the tech executive. But anyway, so there's lots of different I love it because there's lots of different ways I could go. I could choose to go into healthcare and be techie there. I could choose to go into law and be techie there. I could choose to be, go every space has a technical component to it. So I believe it's the best choice because that's the way the world is going. Tech is in everything. It's invading every industry. There's always a technical aspect to every industry now. It's not going to do anything but get larger. Tech is a big help to people not only to get out of poverty, but also just people in their just daily lives. The solutions that are created through tech help people to like have work days where they're not super stressed because the computer is taking care of part of it and all you got to do is check behind the computer but you can do focus on things that the computer can't do. So it can help you be less stressed. It can help you have more time. It can help come up with solutions that are ailing us as humans or us in our individual cultures, which the things that are broken can be fixed with the help of tech, not by tech, but with the help of tech. The thing is, we just have to be careful with tech. There's ethics that
Mm-hmm.
need to be followed. And if we don't follow those ethics, we're going to cause a lot more problems. Where tech can be great to help us, it can also be a problem and it can hurt us.
Hmm.
Um, so, I believe that it is the best path for me. It has been. I've been in tech since 2001, so it's been 23 years now. Um, Actually, it just yeah, because I started February of 2001. So, yeah, I'm over 23 years now. So, I've evolved my career, but I've stayed in tech this whole time. I've worked in a bunch of different um, types of tech when it comes to the application and programming type arena, because there's lots of other areas of tech that I haven't done. Um, but yeah, I believe it's awesome and it's a great place to be, and I still love it. But I'm also a realist in knowing that being the thing that you love, you still have to fight to make sure that it's going to be right for everybody.
Uh-huh. Thank you. Wow. That's really insightful. Okay, so what advice would you give to women pursuing tech careers in the tech industry?
Well, first of all, the first thing I would just say to women would be you have to be tenacious, you have to be stubborn, you have to not listen to the naysayers. And I would say that to us just as being blacks as well, being Africans,
Mm-hmm.
because especially that we used to do in the States, we haven't found those outlets here. But we are definitely, and I say we, I mean me, my family and I, but also my company would be one that would be interested in, or that I would encourage to be interested in giving back to the community and helping those who are less fortunate. I also used to teach for a nonprofit or a couple of nonprofits that were for disadvantaged youth, where they didn't go to college, but I taught them Microsoft skills that they were able to use to get jobs. So
Wow.
lots of different ways. Yes.
Wow. That's really good. Thank you. Thank you. So far, it's been an amazing journey with you. Listening to you speak is really inspiring. Guys, I want to know your reactions. Can you guys give? Are you getting the same feeling as I'm getting? Because I'm really inspired and I think I'm ready to do a lot. Yeah, guys, thank you. So, thank you very much, Nikkia, for your time to engage us with the questions, answering the questions. Guys, now the floor is open for questions. If you have questions for Nikkia, please, are you ready to take questions
Yes, I am.
from the audience? Okay, guys, Nikkia is ready to take questions from you. Your questions, keep your questions coming.
But it's still listen to them daily or weekly or something to keep it up because you're always going to go through trials. There's always going to be somebody that's going to try to say something to you or do something to you that's
Okay.
going to bring your spirit down or try to bring your spirit down. Um, so have the fortitude within yourself, but go find that fortitude wherever you need to find it to help keep fortifying yourself.
Hmm. Wow. I'm really inspired listening. You are. Wow. Thank I'll definitely be like you. So yeah.
Yes, you will.
Uh,
Yes, you will. These are all things that it took me a while to learn, but I'm glad I'm
mm-hmm.
able to tell other people so y'all can skip all of the hardships.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And it's really it's happening already. For me,
Hmm.
I'm really writing a lot of things down because it's not easy.